So fast forward to today. What rescues and shelters learned during Katrina was that it was possible to coordinate this transfer of animals from one location to another, this mass transfer, and that it could be done in an organized and efficient manner. And so today, as a result, animal transfer programs have become critical to shelter management. And that is moving animals from oversupplied locations to locations where they have a better chance of adoption. So what are these places? Where's the overpopulation? Let's start with that. One of the ways that we're going to think about overpopulation is the animals transferred out of a location. As you can imagine, there are really only two ways to ease overpopulation in a shelter. One is to transfer the animals somewhere else, and the other is unfortunately euthanization. So what we're looking at here are the 10 states that transfer out the most animals and did so in 2019. And I'm looking at 2019 because 2020 and 2021 were really skewed because of COVID. So 2019 is a more representative time period than 20 and 21. So these are the, again, 10 largest states for transferring dogs out. So in 2019, you can see our great state of Texas transferred out 50,000 plus dogs. Looking at the dogs euthanized, again, being the other option for clearing out space in overcrowded shelters, many of the same states that are transferring out a lot of dogs are also having to euthanize a lot of dogs because of overpopulation. So again, our here where we are in Texas, almost 24,000 dogs were euthanized in 2019. So looking at it all together, there are a few states that really have a lot to deal with in overpopulation because there's a lot of transfers out and there's a lot of euthanizations. That's going to be California, again, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, so on. One of the things that I found interesting as I was doing this research is that Louisiana has the highest euthanization rate, which is 18% of dogs that enter shelters in Louisiana are euthanized. And I can't help but wonder if there's any hangover from Katrina, even all these years later. I have read stories of packs of wild dogs that are still in New Orleans and in that area. And that seems like something that would probably be a direct result of all of the animals that had to be abandoned as Katrina hit land. So those are the locations where we're seeing overpopulation. So how about the demand for dogs? So similar to what we were looking at on the other side is the 10 states that bring in the most animals from out of state. My great state of Colorado is just a few hundred animals or dogs behind Illinois. But I can tell you from my own experience that one, Coloradans love their dogs, and two, there are not enough dogs in Colorado to meet the demand of Coloradans. And I would argue, without getting on my soapbox about spay and neuter, I would argue that that is in great part to the success of the spay and neuter efforts and legislation, frankly, in Colorado. The pendulum has swung so far that there, though, are not enough animals to meet demand in the state of Colorado. Now, you all may have heard of live release rates, but just to be on the same page about it, basically a live release rate is the percentage of animals, and in this case dogs, that enter a shelter alive and exit a shelter alive. So this can include transfers as well as adoptions, owner redemptions, things like that. And so what I'm illustrating here is that the 10 states that import the most animals, most dogs, also have very high live release rates, which is to say that they're bringing in a lot of animals that are being absorbed and adopted out. And so they're not bringing in more animals than can be managed within the state. They're doing a good job of balancing that supply and demand. There are also about 15 states that also have live release rates above 95%, which is a very high benchmark. And so you'll see here, in Connecticut, maybe a small state, 99% live release rate, down to, unfortunately, Colorado was at 94%. I think they're higher today, but nonetheless pushing hard. And so the combination of the live release rate, the high live release rates, and animals imported into the green states shows where the highest demand is for dogs. So pulling this all together as far as supply and demand, we talked about the states with an oversupply of dogs, and we've talked about states with a high demand for dogs, and we've also then talked about a few states that have high live release rates. And so I think what you all, will notice, as I did, is that many of these states that are overpopulated are sort of the southern half of the US, which will be important when we start talking about some other subjects that relate to the downsides of humane relocation.